The mysterious god of rock has revived the souls of the universe's greatest musicians to clash for his entertainment. Revitalized with new bodies and new powers, each musician will become a contestant in a battle for musical supremacy. God of Rock uniquely blends rhythm-based gameplay with fighting game mechanics in intense 1v1 matches.
Hello everyone and welcome to the latest installment of the Indie Initiative. Mike Straw here as always, and this week I am joined by producer, assistant, and note chart artist of God of Rock, Geoff Mendicino. Geoff, thank you so much for joining me from all the way in Japan. This is like, 14 hour difference from where I'm at and where you're at. So I appreciate it, you joining me so late at night.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So God of Rock, we'll jump right into it. Released April 18th. Before we get into how the reaction has been, what is God of Rock for those who may not fully be aware?
So God of Rock is a mixture between, we call it a rhythm-based fighter. So people who know rhythm games, you could take inspiration from like Guitar Hero, DDR, things like that, and it meshes it with fighting game mechanics. So instead of you fighting the song or trying to complete it, you're fighting each other. So you're doing special moves and you're doing resource management and all that fun stuff that comes with fighting games in the middle of the rhythm, the beat.
When the game launched, so again, it came out April 18th. It's been featured on various showcases. We've seen trailers, we've seen impressions all over. What has the reaction to the game been like that you guys have seen?
We've had a very strong reaction, positive reaction within both the rhythm game and fighting game community, which is, it's a game for and by essentially those communities as well. We've had a lot of feedback and on every single aspect over there, and we have a content update that's going to be coming out, and we're going to be making it more for everyone sort of thing with that content update.
The more for everything comment. So one of the things with the game, it's one I've seen both feedback, positive, negative, like every game. People have suggested that there might be too big of a barrier to not say play it well, but to actually get comfortable within the game. Is that something that you guys with this content update have addressed or things of that nature, just to make sure that anybody who wants to try it can?
Yeah, absolutely. So as the note chart artist, I took that feedback and I made sure that we had like lower difficulty type songs to help people kind of like, sink their teeth into it for the first time sort of thing. So when they see the sticker that's like very easy, they'll see more of those with this content update, and they'll be able to get in and be able to play and be able to like really take it easy and just like start to kind of simmer in the mixture between the rhythm and fighting game aspects.
So God of Rock has dozens of custom songs that are built specifically for this game that really give that feel to that blend, like you said, of a Guitar Hero, of your typical rhythm games and the fighting games. When it came to, especially for you specifically, charting out these songs, what was the process like in it? Because obviously it can't be, it's not something just straightforward and super simple where you're like, all right, boom, done, next song.
Yeah.
There's a process behind it. What was that process like for you?
Oh man, well, it was initially a huge pain in the ass because the instructions I was told was basically like we start the game, the song off pretty easy, right? Like very, very easy, and it increases difficulty over time, and you have around like 3 to 4 minutes to do it, and at the very end you have something called overtime, and that's going to be like the toughest part of the song, right? So the thing is that like which beats do I like end up omitting for the easier sides over there, or what instrument do I end up going like following when it comes to the beat charts and things like that. There's a lot that comes into consideration. Also, we also have a simple note chart that comes alongside with the default one as well. So that one also has increase in difficulty, but it also has like the the much simpler type note set. So it just depends on the song, really. Like for example, one thing that I really have in these songs is a lot of trills that come through with like a little drum roll or something like that, which in my philosophy with that entire thing is that it's not necessarily the density of the note charts that defines the difficulty, rather than like how easily recognizable is this pattern. Because if you're only hitting two different notes at the same time, it's not nearly as much, but you still kind of feel like you're playing with the beat, because like, hey, you're playing that actual drum roll right there. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot of stuff that comes like that.
How do you find that good balance? Because obviously you want it to be on rhythm. That's the biggest key of a rhythm game. You don't want to just
Mhm.
be all over the place, but you also want it to make sense in where
Yes.
they're where the beats are charted and things like that. And you see it all over the place, whether it's the people doing it, the modders for games like Guitar Hero or whatever it may be. There's always that balance. How do you find that balance to make sure that what you're doing makes sense?
That balance is essentially so my philosophy with the whole thing is that like fun should be first, right? If
Yeah.
I play and it feels good, that's what I want to do. And sometimes it might have like just a little spike in difficulty to catch it, but yeah, so to really find it, spent like 8 hours plus just like on like a small section of the song. It's a lot of hours that go in, and it's just like constantly playing it over and over, play testing it, showing it to coworkers and friends and things like that. Like, hey, how do you feel about this? Do you like it when the notes kind of like make a wave pattern over here, or do you like it more when it's like doing trills or jacks and other um no chart terminology stuff. So
Obviously then it comes to you have the chart down and things like that, but then there's the fighting mechanics of it.
mhm.
What is it? What did you have to do differently, or what is different than traditional rhythm games to get it to match the action of the characters on screen who are competing and combating against opponents, and getting that to line up? Because that's something I think, in my opinion, I don't know much about. And if I don't know, I'm sure a lot of our viewers and readers aren't going to know. Like, how do you get that synced up?
Yeah, yeah, no problem. So basically, whenever someone does a special move, it adds something called garbage notes to the other person's side. So those garbage notes are usually alongside like a fourth of beat, an eighth of beat, depending on like what special move it is. And it usually lines up with the music by itself. In order to help execute it as well, I do intentionally leave some like empty pockets
Okay.
in some note charts as well, and that allows people to actually put in the special moves, and that actually does align with the missing pocket beats as well.
How, when you're charting notes for songs, do
Mhm.
you, and just in general with the characters and things like that, was it a case of, was there ever a time where the whole process is going for different songs? I don't know if this would have made your job even harder or what it is. Different songs get different notes based on the character, or are all song, was it always going to be this song, no matter the character that's being played, is going to have the same notes or whatever? How that aspect of the game, how did that come to be? How did that get developed and designed through the whole process?
Yeah, so that was actually designed by our producer Derek Neal over that. So that entire part. So to answer your question, every character can play every single song, and it will like line up to the beat that way. It just depending on like which special move and all that depends on like what garbage notes end up going on whichever side. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't
Yeah, yeah,
exactly know
yeah.
how. Yeah.
No, you're not. You mean you didn't develop this all by yourself? I know, like
I
it's
tried
weird.
to. They told me
Yeah,
not to.
yeah. It's weird. It's incredible how games, to me, like we've talked for this series a number of solo developers. We've talked to people, parts of large teams. I mean, it's just incredible what goes into things like this and the collaboration. And speaking of that collaboration, obviously not everything is sunshine and rainbows. What has been, or what was the most difficult hurdle that you specifically, and or maybe is the company that you saw the team had to get over to get this game to a point where you guys were ready for it to launch?
I think personally speaking, it was the whole messaging of like rhythm-based fighter because people see the like a little snippet of gameplay and it's like, oh, well, you just press the notes and you don't do anything else, right? Putting special moves in at the same time as that and being able to time things and really like there's resource management just like in fighting games. So you don't want to blow your entire load at first, right? So you have to like kind of like, okay, well, I have this much meter over here and I can use it for reversal over here so that I protect myself against attacks and things like that. That is the messaging on that is not intuitively out there in like little small snippets and stuff like that. So we really, really spent a lot of time being like putting that out there to let people know that, hey, it really does have fighting game mechanics.
How much give and take was that with it? Was it we put a little out here, we saw how it worked, okay, maybe add a little more, or was it like how did that camp? Obviously that comes more a lot more later in development when you're ready to show things. How do you go about deciding how you want fans to see this, how you want them to understand? Because if you say again rhythm fighting game, they're like, okay, is this just a game with special combos, like what is it? But then they see, no, this is, think of you having a fretboard, think of DDR or all those games, and then add Tekken to it, and here you go. Like, how did you get that message across the way people would understand?
We made that message I believe relatively clear when we started posting like drip content on like Twitter and all our social channels, just kind of showing off just like little mini tutorials about like, oh, like if you're doing this over here you could do an easy reversal by doing this, and it's like, oh, I didn't know you could even press other buttons while you're in the
Yeah.
middle of this long string here. So yeah.
So with the game specifically, there's multiple modes. There's story mode, there's a training mode to get used to it, there's the multiplayer that's local and ranked, there's a track editor. The track editor, before I get into the story mode itself, the track editor caught me by surprise a bit, because with the game so focused on the rhythm, how does that track editor allow the game to change more for those? I know you're talking about a content update to make it more accessible, easier to grasp, but couldn't have that track editor kind of done that as well? Or did you not? Could you kind of walk through like how that process plays out with the track editor itself and adjusting the gameplay?
Yeah, so actually the track editor is actually just a it's what I used myself to create the note charts to begin with. So yeah, that's always existed there. But that's also for everyone else to be able to create their own tracks. And we've seen a number of them actually. You can actually play them online as well immediately after you create it. So basically just like this track editor is there, but this content update that's coming out includes like 10 plus more songs and a number of like you know, balance updates and things like that, and more quality of life things that include the track editor as well. So
When so you use the track editor yourself to
yes.
chart these songs, did you find how did the track editor evolve them? Because obviously while you're using it, you're going to
Mhm.
notice, okay, maybe we need to make it this way or that way. Like, how did it evolve from when you started using it to what ultimately got released?
Well, uh, the there were a number of quality of life things when the game was early in development that did not exist for the track editor. So like for example, things such as like if you preview a track and then you're like, okay, cool, these measures are good. I'm going to go to the next one. It would automatically just reset back to the original and things like that. So like there were just like a number of those issues. But the developers have been like super, super helpful, and they were able to edit and make the track editor very similar to things like, for example, like Step Mania and many other things that um, the what would be a good way of saying it? just a lot of quality of life things that I've gotten used to from other rhythm games.
With the gameplay itself, one of the things with rhythm games that a lot of people kind of have to deal with, obviously, is replay value and coming back to it.
Mhm.
And God of Rock has a story mode, but story modes, I've always felt, when it comes to rhythm games, when it comes to fighting games, aren't what draws people to keep coming back to it. It's the gameplay within that story mode. So how does God of Rock address that replay value and keeping people with the different song? Obviously, there's different songs to try, but making each song feel fresh, making each character feel fresh when you combine them with a different song. How did the team worry and address that replay value to keep people coming back after more than just, say, one session?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, one thing that makes fighting games really exciting is not only just like, oh, you chose this character and now you're against the world sort of thing, right? It's the different dynamics from like character to character. So, like, for example, if I have a highly defensive character, then I'm going to react differently, or play differently, or use my resources differently versus like a very damage high character, or a character that is about like gimmicks such as like blinking your notes or having the wave effect, where it goes back and forth over and over again. In addition to that, the soundtrack, there's going to be over, how much was it? 60 like individual songs after this content release, right? There's going to be X amount of songs and all that, and included with that is also having two different difficulties, right?
Yeah.
Which is the default and simple, which they dynamically change depending on the performance and things like that. With all that combined, it's very similar to like draw similarities between like, oh, this is what brings people back with fighting games. It's that innate need to like really like perfect your craft sort of thing, which you find in both rhythm games and fighting games.
So this content update you've talked about, when is that? Do you have a date on that? When is that coming? Is there anything else you can add for people on
I
that?
It is coming very soon.
Oh,
That's all I
boo.
actually. Yeah, I know.
Come
I'm sorry. I
on.
wish I could. I
Every
know.
week. Every
I
week, you developers, you produce, every week it's always coming soon.
I promise you, I'm not PR shilling here. I actually just finished the last track for the content update. And we do actually have more that is coming afterwards as well. But yeah, we really wanted to get this content out there as soon as possible.
So is it safe to say that the plans for God of Rock post update, it's going to be a game that's supported for quite a bit of time? I mean, sometimes games just get put out and then they're supported for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then they kind of fall off the face of the earth. I know it all depends on player base and sale, like that drives everything, but is there a plan in place to keep supporting the game as time goes on?
Yes, I can definitely say that there is a plan for more than just this coming up. So yes.
Overall, so the game is available now on Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, PC. Have you guys noticed, maybe, and I don't know if you have or noticed, in the couple weeks since launch, like a platform that's you've seen like the interest draw more to? Because some games, people admit, well, it just, people love playing it on the go. So the Switch is king right now. Steam is king with the Steam Deck. Have you guys
Mm.
noticed anything like that? Like some people just prefer to play it somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, like the portability of Switch is obviously very, very strong. I mean, you said it yourself right there. And also PC, just because we have Steamworks capabilities added for the PC version. So I would say those two, but I mean, like, we do have a very strong base in both PS4, PS5, and the Xbox series.
Is there anything that people should know about God of Rock that maybe we haven't touched on yet? Because it is a very unique game, and it seems, in my mind, we're on this resurgence, I guess you can say, of rhythm themed games,
Oh
whether
yeah.
it's Rhythm Fighter, or even, I mean, we saw last year the Trombone Champion or whatever it was called. Like, it just took off.
That game is great, by the way.
It
I
is
love
such
it.
a perfect time killing of a game when you can see how many songs, like me, I'm a big metal fan, how many metal songs I can find, add to the game, and completely ruin.
Have you heard One Winged Angel yet on
No.
Trombone Champ?
No,
It's
I
so
kind of
good. Please go back and play it. But yeah, no, with like Hi-Fi Rush and things
Yeah.
like that. I mean, it really is a resurgence of like rhythm games, and as a rhythm game fan myself, I couldn't be more happy, honestly. So
yeah, same here. Like the heyday of the Guitar Heroes dance DDR, I tried. I have no rhythm, like, at all. Like, my wife and I, we go to weddings, we try and dance, and I fall. But like those games, seeing like back in the day, and then seeing games like you mentioned, Hi-Fi Rush last year, Metal Hellsinger. It's just seeing this resurgence. What has for you? Have you seen kind of that? Like, was that a big reason for? Obviously, the game was in development long before this resurgence seemed to start. But knowing you're a part of that, what does that feel to you? Seeing just the reactions and seeing this kind of grow back, because everything's cyclical, and now we're seeing it again. What is it? How do you feel about it all?
I think it's actually crazy that we just happened to be a part of the zeitgeist that was like rhythm games coming back and things like that. And honestly, I'm just like really happy to go back and create like note charts again. It's something I used to do like back when I was 14 years old, actually. Like legitimately, like I would just sit there, just like free labor and just like throw
Right.
like a bunch of these copyright songs or whatever and just like do whatever. And it was so cool to just like be able to be a part of that. So
And now you're getting paid to do it. And
that helps too.
you're in
Yes.
Japan.
I can pay
which
my
is a
bills.
beautiful country. Like, it's just okay. Now, on a personal note, did you see it turning into what it became for you?
It was regarding what?
Just where your career has gone. Like you
Oh,
said, you went from doing
hell
this
no.
labor of love, like modding and chart and all this stuff, to now you're doing it professionally.
No, I had no idea that it would ever, because like it's been dormant for a while. I bought a like a arcade cabinet actually for DDR recently, and that was pretty much it. And then all of a sudden that came through the door. I was like, what? I was like, okay, cool. That's really cool. But yeah, no, my career is all over the place right now, but influencer relations manager as well, and all this crazy stuff. So I don't know where anything's going. I'm just here for the ride. I'm enjoying it.
Geoff, I want to thank you again for joining me here today. Where can people learn more about God of Rock and the content update as it's ready, and just the overall status of the game?
Yeah, we got daily updates on our Twitter at God of Rock Game, or you can visit our website, godofrockgame.com.
God of Rock, again, available now on PC, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation consoles. Pick it up now. Check it out. Geoff, thank you again so much for joining me here.
Michael, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.